Hello, friends, and welcome to the Weekend Catch-Up Club, the coffee morning show brought to you live every Saturday direct to Twitch and available later on demand at youtube.com/gamertagged and podcast services. Grab yourself some snacks, a drink, and hang out with us for just a little bit because this guest is someone who is incredibly special, incredibly awesome and cool. And my goodness, I am convinced that you will have been familiar with his work in some context or another, but maybe you just didn't realize it because I am joined today by renowned vector artist Orlando Arocena. Man, how you doing?
Ross, what's going on? With that kind of lead, and I'm looking over my shoulder like, who is he talking about? Because I'm definitely interested in wanting to chill out, have some coffee, and tune into this podcast. Dude, you're too kind, but thank you so much.
Did I raise the bar too high there? Do I need to lower it a little bit?
No. I mean, well, yes, definitely. But hey, I'm all for the challenge. Definitely up for the challenge. Let's definitely roll and have some fun, man.
Yeah. So I first became aware of you. Well, actually, before I knew it was you, it was actually years ago because I'm a graphic designer by profession. I've been using Adobe products for must be 20 years. Mm-hmm. And I always remember loving the startup screens of their applications. And it was only the past week or so that I became aware that you were one of the artists behind those legendary startup screens at Adobe Illustrator. That blew my mind. Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah, thanks. It blew my mind away when they called me up to be part of it, and that was 2014, and it was a very remarkable opportunity that helped open a few doors for me in my career.
Yeah.
And, it was incredible. I'll never forget, it was a Friday morning when the team over at Adobe called me up. And they're like, hey, Merck, they actually were considering wanting to, sorry about that, to consider licensing an existing piece of artwork.
Right.
And when they told me which one it was, I was like, oh no, I come from a fine arts / commercial background. I've been in commercial advertising and agencies, on and off for over 15 years. So, and I do a lot of creative brand strategy now. For marketing initiatives. And when they came and asked me about it, my marketing strategy helmet went on. And I was like, no, that's a great image, but it has nothing to do with the brand personality and what it really needs to stand for the community, for the vector community. Lo and behold, I totally threw out the thank yous and the opportunities. I just straight into strategy mode. And they're like, okay, well, what do you recommend? We need this by Monday. And I was like, listen, I'll write up a deck for you. I'll draw up an option, and I'll get it to you within the next 3 hours. I put everything off aside, man. And they were just like, it was the executive creative director and the executive strategist, brand strategist for Adobe on this call. And they're like, giggling. They're like, no, are you kidding me? You can't do that in 3 hours. And I was like, I'll definitely put together a pitch deck, a strategy deck, and examples of what I'm hoping to deliver in 3 hours. And they're like,
wow,
if you could deliver it in 3 hours. I was like, listen, if I could deliver it in 3 hours, not only are we going to be in a happy situation, but, I'd like to go to Adobe Max. And they're like, yeah, it's on. They're like, all right, we'll take that bet. No problem. Let's go. In 3 hours, I totally written it up. Boom. And I sent it over to them, and they were just like floored. They were really floored. They were like, wow, you did this all in vector? And I was like, wow, look at the wireframes. And they loved the idea. I wanted to capture something unique, something different. I wanted to make sure that the visual was going to be captivating enough that if you're a big Illustrator fan of the startup screens of the Adobe brand, it would knock you for a loop, it'd knock you off your seat and go, wait a second, is that really vector? And I really wanted to make sure that it was colorful, that it, harkened and leveraged a majority of like the existing colored palettes from all the different years. I mean, they went from white to like this magenta kind of color with the flowers and the budding, florals to like, the yellow ochre and kind of the gold look that, was kind of a minimal for a while. And I was like, let's leverage all that. And then let's talk about, how energetic and exciting it is to play with vector, because a lot of people out in the industry are like, oh, I'm not touching that thing. That thing scares me, man. The tools don't even operate like they do in Photoshop. And I just want to throw the machine out the window, And I'm like, I can relate to that back in '97, it's, but, I really wanted to capture the audience. The audience the community is a very outgoing, extensive community of creativity.
Yeah.
And their own kind of venturing forth, exploration into investing into their own creative voice. So I had, this kind of worked up female Venus. It was my take on like Venus de Milo, but originally she was pointing at her throat, right? Where she had like this stylized tattoo that was paying homage to the Venus de Milo, right? And when they saw it, they were like, wow, this is incredible. But then, they put on their strategy helmets and they're like, we can't have this go on live. And I'm like, why? And they're like, because it's going to be global. And I totally forgot about that as well. I was like, oh, that's right. It's a startup screen. It's just not a poster.
Yeah.
And they're like, there's regions, there's regions around the world that we just can't have, the portrayal of the body that way,
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man. And they're like, well, listen, we like it. We just need a better idea for, before Monday. And I was like, no, I already got the idea. And the strategists and the brand strategists jumped out. They're like, oh, come on, give me a break.
Must be blowing their mind. Just like, I've got it in my back pocket here.
Yeah, I was like, seriously, no, man. It's just, I'm a kid from the Bronx, New York City. So New York City moves fast, and I'm a kid from the '80s, and everything's all about moving fast and being on your toes and being able to work that hustle, as they say.
Yeah.
And here it was. I was like, not only trying to bargain for this startup screen, but also for this trip out to be at Adobe Max. I wanted to win this bet. I was like, no, man, I'm going there. And
don't bother paying me, just get me to Max. That's the thing. Is
I want to be part of Max. And on the spot, I was like, you know what? Let's forget about. She's the new Venus de Milo. Let's get rid of the tattoo on the neck. But let's replace it with something that's very vital and important to the application. Right. Something that everybody has to, at least at one point through their experience with Adobe Illustrator, has to come in contact with and either master it or find a way around it. And that's the pen tool.
The pen tool. I thought you were going to go for the spinning beach ball. Because everybody's seen that in all products.
Oh man, no. The spinning beach ball is a namesake for a different application or OS that because of my contract, I can't really talk much about with that. But no, the pen tool, and they were just like, "Whoa, that makes sense." And I was like, and they're like, "All right, you beat us. When can it be done?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'll have it to you by Monday. Don't worry about it."
Wow.
And it was great because I actually did go to Adobe Max that year. They launched it. It was quite frightening because it was that year. It was in Los Angeles. So we were like walking around the Staples Center, and we were going out to dinner with the team. And somehow the night before it got released, before it was actually on the Adobe startup screen, it was like somehow someone had like released it to the webs. Dark web or whatever, and I'm getting it, and everybody else is getting it, and they're looking at me like,
"Did you leak this?"
And I was like, "I didn't leak anything." I was like, "I didn't leak anything." And I'm a kid from the Bronx, I know that we're kind of troublesome at times, or we're depicted that way, like in movies. But I didn't do anything, man. Are you kidding me? I wouldn't ruin this moment at all. And it happened that someone over in their Russian office had totally picked it up and was very happy and animate about it, and they sent it out. But the following day was the keynote speech, and it was really, really exciting. I mean, if you've never been to Adobe Max, you definitely should go. It's so energetic to see how they really, really deliver these keynotes. Every year it's different, has a different theme, and it's really impressive. And you're sitting there and you're seeing just, it's almost like Mystery Theater 2000, just all these heads, these silhouette heads, and people, turning around like Muppets. And I'm just like trying to put bubbles over their heads of what they're thinking, But that year was awesome because I got, and as soon as the first day was over, we went for a lunch break, and I ended up, chatting with one of the Adobe people, and I see the president of Adobe, Shantanayu, walking by with his entourage. And I told this person, I was like, hey, why don't you go up there and go get a selfie? That's when like selfies were like just really beginning to be like really cool and in for social. Now they're just annoying. It's like, get away from me, man.
Yeah.
But,
you got to get on Instagram, man. If it's not on Instagram, it didn't happen.
Man. I'm there rocking. I had printed out the icon on my shirt, the startup page on my shirt. And I was like such a proud dad, man. I was like, yeah.
So
I was
what you're telling me, Orlando, is that you didn't leak the picture, but you already had a T-shirt made up of the
I already had
startup
a T-shirt, man. I already had a T-shirt, man. Hey, I invest in my tools, man. That's not saying that I outsourced it to somebody to get me the T-shirt. Hey, I got it done, man.
Free advertising.
And, but this Adobe person, I was like, no, man, are you kidding me? He's an awesome boss to work for. But like I'm not going to bother him. He's going out to lunch right now with his entourage. And I was like, watch this. And I just walk over there, and I was all set. I'm a kid. I used to work for the nightclubs in New York City and promote. I was like a promoting kid on, one of those roving promoting teams on the streets that are handing you, flyers and tickets to go to tonight's.
Yeah, those annoying kids on the street, they start throwing you stuff at when you're trying to just get to the club.
Oh, but all of a sudden when you do want to go to the club, you're like, hey, man, I need one of those annoying kids. I need like $10 off the door. Yeah, okay, I see how that works, Ross. But I had like, cargo pants, and I had like my 5x7 giveaway postcards with all my info, and I just go up to him and I go, hey, hi. I introduce myself, and he looks at my shirt and he goes, oh, I know what that is. And I was like, I hope so. I created it for you. And he's like, oh, you're Orlando. Yeah, and I'm like, oh, snap. I was like,
he knows you, yeah.
Because I was like, I've worked in the advertising industry for quite a while, and I've had my run-ins and my elbow rub-ins with like, other CEOs of different companies, and they got their own agenda. You know what I mean? Yeah, not to be rude, but here's a moment that I was just like, holy wow, okay. And he's like, I got to tell you, you really, really changed the face of Vector. And I just went, I literally just almost, ruined my cargo pants at that moment in front of him.
That must have been pretty special to hear that from somebody who is, a CEO, such a high level in a major company, and a major company that's for creatives as well. To hear that kind of feedback from him, to say you are responsible for a tonal shift in the product in terms of how it looks, that feeling you get when you first boot up the application is because of you, and he was just like full of adoration for you.
I freaked out. I really went pale, and I was just like, wow. And looking back at it today, I wish I would have like brought a few of my lawyer friends with like contracts and said, hey, can you sign this just to make sure that we can leverage that? Can we get like a seal of authenticity on these words? Because I use it on my Instagram, and I get a lot of slack. People like, oh, whatever, you didn't do anything to Vector. And I'm just like,
actually, yeah.
I was like, what is it? Is it the ethnicity that I have in that line? A Mexican who changed the face of Vector? Okay, he didn't say Mexican, but he did say the rest of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it was great, because then I went on to ask him for a selfie, and he's like, sure, come on. And he's we're hugging in tight, man. Not that we had like man crushes on each other, but I was just like, oh, damn. That's cool. And I go to lift up my cell phone, and one of his entourage guys, comes over, and he's like trying to grab the phone out of my hand, and he's like really, really just like overdoing. He's like, I'll take the photo. I'll take the photo. And this guy is charismatic and professional and totally just drop dead cool, man. He's like, no. that defeats the whole purpose of what a selfie stands for.
Yeah.
Let him do it. And I was just like, yeah, right on. I was like, right on, Shinkai. So I take the photo and I'm like, listen, knowing that, time is money and I don't want to eat up any more of his time. I'm like, hey, thank you very much for this opportunity. He's like, no. Do it again. My eyes were shut. And I was like, oh, snap. I was like, oh, you're a professional, man. I was like, okay, let's do it.
See, he knows he's going to get tagged in this. That's why. So he wants it on his Instagram channel as well, that he doesn't have his eyes shut or making a dumb face or something.
But it's so weird because, like, everything's all hindsight 2020, right? And I'm whenever I look at these photos, there's in downtown LA, Staples Center, you have all these, like, it's almost like a little micro niche version of like, Times Square, New York City, where you have all these big branded billboards and everything. So I'm there with him and I'm capturing this really like iconic moment. And what's over us over here is like a huge panel for like Bud Light beer. And I'm just like, oh man, you can't win them all, man.
Yeah, well, I was fortunate enough to go to Max in 2019. I was the first time I ever got the opportunity to go to Max, and the company sent myself, my creative director, and another designer who was in the US office. We got to go out to LA, and my God, what a treat that convention is. I mean, we always knew it was if you're a creative person, you got any kind of interest in the arts, the creativity, design, film, production, absolutely anything within those fields, Max was always the mecca for collaborating, to hearing different keynote speeches, different speakers, different workshops, just signing up for as many as you possibly could and going to them. And we were so excited that we got to go. And I think that year it was Dave Grohl was doing a keynote. Billie Eilish was there. A few others like headliners, which were just incredible. And we were just buzzing like the whole week. We were just buzzing like kids. It was incredible because they were doing lots of things with like with augmented reality apps and new stuff for Illustrator on the iPad, and there was this new watercolor app which was getting shown off for the iPad as well. And we were just like getting blown away by it's like, how are they simulating water for blending colors on an iPad and this crazy stuff? All of this technology was just blowing us away. And yeah, I cannot recommend enough. It's expensive for sure, but if you get the opportunity to go,
it's definitely expensive. It's definitely expensive, and I tell some whenever I get a chance to lecture at some of the universities, I'm like, if some of you guys are working or have like a part-time client that you're doing freelance or design work, whatever, get them to pay this ticket and tell them that it's totally a tax write-off. You can totally put it back into your investment. And they're like, oh, yeah, I never thought about that. And then they actually look at the price and they're like, oh, no, my patron's not going to pay for that, man. Are you kidding me? And I'm like, come on, man, you can go. Don't.
It's invaluable.
Short. But it's amazing. It's amazing because I often get invited to do pre-workshops before the actual keynote date, which is usually a Wednesday or a Thursday. So I end up flying over there, that Sunday night. And then I do like 3 days of like a special unique workshop for Adobe,
So you like the warm-up act for the Foo Fighters then, is what you're saying right here.
The warm-up act. Yeah, I'm totally there with my poncho, my sombrero, and I'm like flipping tacos, and I'm like, yeah, right. Yeah, before the main course gets on the way, here's some chimichangas, man. Here we go. But it's definitely exciting. It's definitely exciting. Like I always get to, and I'm so thankful, man. I'm so thankful for everyone that comes out, and plus everybody who's, some of the brands that helped me get out there, and I'm always catching up with some of my friends, like, Dan Mumford is always a regular out there. And we're always like, we're always like, hey, yeah, I'll catch you up later on tonight. And then we'll find each other at like a restaurant, and I'm like, all right, now it's time for the next 6 hours to commiserate and like totally just cry about the business that we're in, But he's awesome, Dan Mumford and Tracy Chang and quite a number of them. I mean, they just go on and on and on. It's remarkable. Plus all the fans. I just love, reaching out to some of the students that come out, or some of the professionals that that just come out and say hi. And I'm just like, oh, okay, cool. Don't go away yet. Let's chat. I love chatting and telling stories, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I get that. I love the energy that you're bringing to not just like online stuff, but whenever I see you in an interview or just a talking head or even like a tweet or a LinkedIn post, it's just full of energy and just like passion, and that is so brilliant to be around as a creative person or just any person really. If you're surrounded by people that are just like full of passion and energy, it becomes infectious. And I mean, well, maybe not using the infectious word in the current climate, of course, but it's a kind of infectiousness that you want to be a part of.
Well, who wants to be around, stressed out situations? I mean,
yeah.
I love to take on projects that I know that I'm going to be challenged and that I'm going to have the utmost fun collaborating with the team that's inviting me to play. Right? I mean, why else? I'm very, very thankful that I've invested my time and energy, my family's support throughout the years, and my spouse's support to this day. Where it's not like I'm not doing brain surgery, and I'm not changing significant paths of certain people's lives. I'm happy to do and service and provide creativity. The way that I do when I'm being asked for it, and the best way that I know for me to engage is to make sure that, we're being proficient to understand what the end goal is expected to be. But throughout that process, it's really a compromise. You want to have some fun. So if you think about if it's whether a dance or whether you're setting up for a party or something, it's just not, a party of one. There's so many other factors that need to go in there, and there's no need for big, egos or really rude levels of perception to be like, oh no, I'm the professional here. I know what I'm doing. You asked me to do what I need to do, and I don't need any of your feedback or any of your direction. No, it's more along the lines of like, hey man, you invited me to this party. What is it that you like most that you saw from my portfolio that you think that this project would benefit from?
Yeah.
And then from there, it's really a matter of having the best fun. I hate going, I'm only going to do this idea. There's times where clients are like, whoa, because I'll put together a whole PDF. I'll put together a whole pitch deck, a reason to believe, what are the challenges? What's the established, competitive landscape of what's out there when you're talking about really, really like, pop culturally strong properties, movies or video games that have been out there, for over 20 years that everybody, including their grandma from around the corner, has drawn a stick figure to promote it. You know what I mean? Yep. Those properties are really challenging. I wouldn't say that they're stressed out. They're just really challenging because you want to stick out within the history of that property, right?
Yeah.
But you want to make sure that you're sticking out for all the right reasons. And often at times, it's really a really great conversation to have when, it's not an argument. It's a challenging point where you're bringing, ideas and reasons to the table, proof to support your direction if there's a need to shift a little bit from what the client's asking you for. You know what I mean? So right. It's validating. Okay, well, I hear you on that piece, but I think that it would be really significant if we're able to just tweak it here and there like this because of this, and this that's leveraged from the actual storyline or from an interview with the director. You really got to pull your stakes into what assets are there buried within the subject matter of what you're being asked to do.
Yeah, that's actually really an interesting point, because I was going to ask, like, the process for when you get approached to do a commission, like whether it is one of the big Warner Brothers movie posters or from 20th Century Fox, is it a case, and I know it's not going to be a blanket response for absolutely everything, but is it a case of they come to you and just give you free rein? Or do sometimes it is like very prescriptive? It's like you have to work within these boundaries, and then they have something that they want, but they want it just in your style. Or do you really work with them to say, well, I know you want that, but let's do something like totally wild and out of the box and different?
It's I like to look at things, these engagements and these opportunities as like the first dance, first date type scenarios, even if they're just buddies and familiar faces that are coming back, to want to play once more, right? Like Lionsgate, and Shout Factory and Warner Brothers and Marvel, but because I see that it's a new brief and it's a new initiative and it's it might be the same team, same kind of thinking, same kind of personality and hospitality, but it's still a new brief and it's a new personality that you have to engage in and really do your research and see what's already been established out there, what's worked, what hasn't worked. I'm a big fan of the community of poster collecting and poster building, and I'm a big fan of design. So when you have all those elements in, sometimes you have to be mindful that the fact that maybe the clientele, the marketing director or the creative director on that side might not be at that same level. So you can't, have this discrepancy of being, rude, and condescending. That's like, no, you don't know anything. I know what kind of underwear Kurt Russell is wearing on the side of Big Trouble in Little China. You know what I mean? You can't go there with that. You just can't. But you have to find the proper way to communicate and voice your concerns and your opinions to really get to that golden bridge of compromise and understanding, where it's like, okay, cool, that'll make for a better composition. And I've always found that in my years of being a design director, creative director for, agencies, advertising agencies in the past that have done, Pepsi and a multitude of liquor brands and spirit brands for Diageo. I've always challenged my art directors that, when it's the date to review your comps and your sketches and your ideas, bring as much of your creative supportive arsenal to have a healthy conversation upon why you're viewing it and why you're pursuing this course of action that the brand should embody for this campaign. Right? Because if you don't, then, it's not like, well, I like the color blue. It's like, well, why? Where does that come from? Why does that font have to be like so big and energetic? Where does that personality come from?
Yeah, as long as they don't recommend Comic Sans or something like that, and we're usually in a good position.
I still use Comic Sans, man. Come on, man. What's wrong with you?
Time and a place for every font, then, I guess.
But honestly, I think not everything has to be just a pretty picture. So when I get invited to be commissioned for like some really big properties, these opportunities, yes, some of them come to me and they'll go, the property, carte blanche, do what you want to do, and I that's like heaven to any other artist. For me, I'm just like, oh no, we're not going to start off that way. I was like, you need to at least give me a brief, or at least give me a few guardrails, because I could go to Mars and back on a snap with just that direction, and when I get really excited and involved on a project, I've been known to be like, okay, here's round one of the concepts, and I'll reiterate everything that they've brought to the table as far as the brief and the insights. And I'll share everything else as far as the learnings and the comprehensive kind of research that I've done. And then, boom, here are the sketches. And, at least 10 different concepts, all in vector.
Wow.
And they're just like, whoa, this is too tough for us. Which ones do you like? And I'm like, oh, well, like, when it's switched out like that, then it's easy, because I'm like, okay, maybe I could start to try to steer this a bit more,
Yeah.
And that's when I'm like, okay, here, this one, that one, this one, that one. Recently with like the Warner Brothers, the Conjuring 3, The Devil Made Me Do It. I think I went really slim, just because I was like really, tsunamied out with like so many different projects that I was like, all right, you know what? Let me just hone in, sharpen in, do my research. And, I've had the luxury of being such a fan of horror movies and of the Warrens that when I was living in Connecticut, I actually went to 2 of their workshops. Well, Lorraine Warren was still alive, and she was like this little tiny Smurf-like, individual, and I was just like, oh my God, you're awesome. Little did I know, years later that I'd be doing, a one sheet for them.
Yeah.
And I honed in on everything, and I was like, they'll let me do it. Okay. So, there was specific direction. They were like, hey, we really want to make sure that we leverage what the marketing team has already conducted and set forth, as far as that it's a trial. Devil made me do it, but it's really the media and the newspapers that's kind of capturing it. That's kind of the look that we have right now with the trailer and the promotion. So when you have that level of top level, echelon like direction for marketing, then you really have to go, okay, great. All these crazy outlandish fan made, like, big, Frazetta type esque posters. Yeah. You gotta tone them down, because you have to bring it into this realistic world of marketing and understand that they've already invested in that. And if you want to make sure that, the tide's going to go your way in a beneficial manner for this project, then you have to really compromise and go, okay, cool. Let me just focus in on what they've already established and let me ride that wave and make sure that I deliver it so that it'll end up being one of these Hokusai enormous tsunami waves.
Yeah.
That's going to just plunge on them and be like, and drop, and they'll just be like, whoa, we didn't see it that way. And, I took it all from the perspective of literally showing, physical metaphors of hands upon hands of like devil, writing, taking over the possession aspect of grabbing the kid's face, and going, oh, let me in. And there was even one more, which I can't talk about, which might end up being on the steel case or something like that.
Wow.
But that was the idea. I was like, you know what? Let's go to the literal translation and just find an iconic visual narrative to help support it, not to just have, let's have my artist take on everything. Just the hell with your promotional marketing. No, there's got to be a lot of respect and give and take within the industry when you get called up to play.
Yeah. So when you're creating these like big one sheets, do you have to be aware of the other assets that need to come off the back of the marketing campaign for this that could be totally different? It could be the side of the bus, it could be magazine ads, it could be social ads for the campaign as well that they want to use your illustration for. And of course that may have implications to then reconfigure the design to fit a portrait layout versus a landscape layout versus a square layout or something really obscure that's going to go on the Google ads for whenever it goes on like Empire Magazine website, all this kind of stuff that you're like, oh, son of a bitch, I designed this as a portrait poster.
Oh, no, yeah. What the hell? I didn't know it was going to go on some type of Trader Joe plastic bag for your groceries. Jesus.
Yeah, exactly. Beer coasters, this kind of stuff,
Yeah, no. Hey, listen, you and I are design veterans. I know exactly where your tone of commiseration and appreciation is coming from, Yeah, no, trust me. I know those campaigns. It's
this
like,
podcast has now turned into a support group. We should get more people in here.
No, let's turn it into a 12-step program. Why not? Let's go. I'm really lucky because when I get invited to do some of these one sheets, at times the marketing team has already established their signature for the movie, right? They're all out one sheet, and then they go, okay, cool. How much is left in the coffers for us to be able to invite another artist to do another rendition that we can then utilize as a secondary wave of promotional, assets. So the majority of times when I get called up to play, they're like, it's almost like in the third quarter of the act where they're just like, hey, that's if there's 4 acts in a play. Usually there's 3, but hey, it's my bad.
Well, if it's Macbeth, it could be like 10 acts in a play.
It's okay. We're talking about the Iliad. It's really long, but usually it's directed in conjunction with a particular theater or movie house, like Adobe theaters or an Imax, or it's a Regency type of thing with like Cinemark theaters. A lot of theaters tend to play in a major role with the promotion of a particular movie or property.
Right.
So that's when they're like, hey, we want this one sheet for us and only us. It's an exclusive. When I did the Spielberg Ready Player One, it was funny because because I was just like, what? I was like, no way.
I have that poster because I went to see it in IMAX, and they were giving out posters of certain movies for just for IMAX prints, and I've got that one.
No way.
Yeah.
You got one of mine? You got one of oh God, what's his name? Jesus, he's oh, he's gonna kill me. I totally blanked on his name. Paul Fisher, man. Paul Schipper. Paul Fisher.
I
Oh my
don't
God.
know, but when we came out of the movie theater of the IMAX screening, some poor like Cineworld worker was like just handing posters to people. Some people were just like, whatever, and just threw it away. I thought, oh, how could you do that? That's outrageous. And I'm like, if I see a cool poster, I gotta have it. And it was printed on just like a really nice thick parchment as well. It wasn't like that super thin, glossy, flimsy stuff. It was really nice. And I grabbed it, and they did it for a few movie IMAX releases, not everyone. I think I got a Guardians of the Galaxy one as well, and a Star Wars Rogue One, and Logan got a Wolverine special IMAX edition poster, and I thought, man, these are incredible. And they're waiting to be framed and put up on the wall, but it's finding the space to put them. And it's like, I really want to hang these and mount these, but one day they'll get exhibited.
Studios. Well, hey, look at my backdrop, man. I'm so busy I can't even open up my mail from a few friends over at a few brands, man.
I just thought you had a thing for cardboard boxes, and that was the art right there, just the cardboard boxes.
In some weird way that could totally work into my background of being from New York City. You know what I mean? That's that. Thank you, Russ. But yeah, no. The point that I wanted to make with Paul Schipper and all that was that he was actually doing the one sheet for the movie, and I was doing it for IMAX, and never did we end up chatting about it until after the fact. And I was just like, oh, you bastard. I was like, why didn't you tell me something, man? And he was like, I couldn't tell you anything. There's NDAs, man. I'm like, and he's like, how come you didn't tell me? And I was like, hey, man, same thing, man. But usually I'm working in just one format for them. And it's very rare if they're like, hey, we need to use this for a different size, different formats. Like I'm the glutton for punishment who, when I'm doing the round ones, I'm also including an appendix going, okay, and here's how the graphics could also be utilized, leveraged for like social marketing and event marketing. Like I really push what I'm designing. I'm like, hey, here's what it looks like on the side of a bus if you want. Like it's all those learnings that are ingrained in you if you've worked within any type of design studio or post-production studio at any agency level, advertising agency level. I mean, you get so used to having to drill out the whole campaign portfolio of what it could look like that it's not stressful anymore. It's almost automatic, like muscle memory. It's just like here's what it looks like, and then they're like, we're only asking for a poster, man. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. It's okay. It's all right. It's okay. I'm sorry if I've done your work for you ahead of time. I'm sorry.
But it frequently sparks an idea for the marketing team of how they can adapt and use things. Application of assets is such a key part. And you're right. I mean, it's just part of the pitch process. They want to see how it can be applied here, there, and everywhere. And not to mention that, but can it be stress tested for the most obscure applications as well? And the fact that you're kind of doing that with them not expecting it is obviously key to why they obviously want to work with you and continue to work with you, and you keep getting more and more commissions.
Yeah. Something like that, yeah. No, I'll tell you the best poster that I've seen so far of like the agency taking it or the studio taking it and then giving it to a promotional agency to do their magic was when I did another Warner Brothers movie, and the same director too, Michael Chaves. He did La Llorona, right?
Okay.
So I did the one sheet. It was like, skeletal bride profile, and in the eye I had these silhouettes of the little girl and boy near a river or a creek, right? And I had these black mascara tears running down, and all this like Mexican ornate kind of like decorations within her bridal veil and all that, and sent it off. And they did the one sheet thing for the actual wall and the theater, but they were also giving out posters out, little A4s, I think, A3s, and the agency sends me like a video, and it's them playing with the poster, right? And they're dropping water on top of it.
Oh,
and what it is that it's just a plain white sheet with the title La Llorona and the credits.
Okay.
And as the water drops and hits the paper, it starts to reveal the actual artwork as it bleeds out. And I was like, oh, you better send me like 12 of those, or at least 50 of those. I was like, oh no, I definitely need those for my portfolio, man. I want to play with that. But it's unique when you see somebody take something that you've invested time in and then take it to a next level without endangering it or changing it too much, carrying on the personality or the spirit of it. I was floored. I was really, really floored.
It's amazing what technology has done for print advertising, because you mentioned that they were doing that physical thing of dropping water onto the paper and it would change. But I've seen examples where it could be a printed piece or a digital piece, and it's utilizing augmented reality apps. So you hold your camera phone up to the poster, and then maybe the figure in the poster starts coming to life. Or, a random example might be if it's a picture of Thanos for Infinity War, maybe you hold your phone up and then that thing comes to life, and maybe Thanos snaps his fingers or something like that. And it's all of this tech stuff that is becoming.
I'm always trying to sell in those ideas, man.
Yeah,
I'm always trying to sell those ideas in, man. I think what happens, is that it's a few years ago, it was still considered too much of a rich media, that they were like, oh no, it's going to cost too much money to do just for this initiative. Yeah. And I'm just like, oh my God, a few years before that, you guys thought it was too expensive to give out posters with the sale of each, movie ticket. Look what you guys are doing now. Yeah. I was like, so, I see that working really, really well with a bunch of different properties and different, brands and product initiatives. I think what comes into play is the global aspect and the hardship of having to rewrite or repurpose or make sure that the application could be well received and conducted by the audience on a global level. Mm. You and I could probably think like global level, like, oh my God, this idea is fantastic. But we also twitch and cringe a little bit when we've done a project and we finished it, we hand it in. They're like, hey, we need 15 translations, because this thing's going global. And you're like, you get that twitch in your eye, like, what? No, I thought it was done.
Russian is always a major, sit in the corner, start rocking back and forward, because typically the language tends to be about 3 times longer than English. The way it translates, like the glyphs and the numerals and everything, and the font. It's like if you've got a lot of text on your one sheet or a brochure or any kind of material, and then it has to get translated into Russian, and then it takes up 3 times the amount of space. Son of a bitch.
I hope you have the right font with it. I hope you have the right Cyrillic font to go with it, because I didn't know. I thought Cyrillic was Cyrillic, and then I sent something to a Russian friend of mine who's an awesome video animator over in LA, and he's like, what am I, like your go-to Russian Google, man? He's like, what's going on here? And I'm like, hey, is it proper? Like, I want to make sure that the audience is going to accept it and not call me out like, hey, you use some damn automated, translator thing.
Yeah, Google Translate.
He's like, well, first off, this font is Cyrillic, and there's all other like Russian, fonts out there. So he sends me the right font, and he's like, and by the way, this is how you spell it out. And I'm like, oh man, okay, cool. I was like, are you sure? Like, you're not messing with me. Like, I'm not putting down like, all of you who read this are all overweight fat cows or something, right? I was like, I don't want to get in trouble here, man. And he was like, I should have thrown that at you, man. I was like, don't ever do that to me, man. That's the worst. If you ever have to rely on any of your friends for any type of like cultural, ethnic translations, I hope like, you've been good to them, because karma is really bad in the professional world. Yeah. Let me tell you.
Quite an expensive reprint if they're just messing with you.
Man. Yeah, I don't want to think about it, man.
So how did it really kick off and begin for you, for the benefit of young budding artists that are coming up in today's kind of environment and different generations that are looking to Orlando Arocena as such an accomplished artist and successful artist that they want to follow in your footsteps? Yeah, it's like, who's he talking about again? That person behind you.
Seriously,
if you could just move out of the way and let him.
Next time I'm on the phone with my mom, my Mexican mom, I'm going to call you up and put you on like the conference call. Like, can you introduce me to my mom? She doesn't understand what I do yet. although I sent her like, this gold Clio that I won, as this just sign and homage to all of her support. I was like, here you go. And I have a video of her opening this up, and she's like, she lives with my sister, right? And my mom's like pushing 83. So she's like, she picks up the box. She's like, what the hell? I didn't order this from Amazon. What is this? I don't need this. My sister's like recording it off stage, and she's like, but just read the label. It's from your son. And she's like, what? My son's in Colombia. He didn't send me this. And she just keeps on going. It's rather cute, but at the same time, sitting there like, oh man, this is painful. Those parents not understanding what it is to be an illustrator or an artist. They'll catch on though. Yeah. They'll catch on. When are you going to work for a living, Orlando? Get a real job. Yeah, seriously. But it's wild. I think that the first major thing is to never give up. Never give up. It's gonna be really, really tough on everyone around you if you under your roof, so to say. Hopefully you're able to have siblings and family support and friends support, and understand what you're doing, understand kind of the uniqueness that you could bring and offer to the world and society, and enjoy it. I've been drawing for a while. Being a kid from the Bronx, my mom had to work, 2 or 3 gigs, right, as a single mom, and I was well entertained with just a stack of paper and markers or pens, and she would just leave me with the neighbors. She'd be like, hey, don't worry about him, just turn on TV, or if he's not on watching TV, here's a bunch of paper and pens, and he'll entertain himself. He's got an imagination. And I think that's, many years later, when I ended up going to university, I went to Pratt Institute in Brooklyn from 90 to 94. I really didn't know what I was going to engage in. I didn't have an older famous uncle who was a designer, from Times Square or something like that. You know what I mean? Yeah. Or an aunt who's a script writer for Hollywood. I had no, I didn't have any type of, ins. I was just interested in doing what I wanted to do. And I remember I didn't even know really what the word being an illustrator really stood for. Yeah. And I was like, you just draw pictures, whatever, and when I went to university, I really got into, having a good, well-rounded, diverse group of friends who were like architects, and some were starting to be studying to be fine artists. Some were starting to be creative directors, advertising directors, and industrial designers. And we'd all chill out and switch off on each other's work and be like, oh man, this is cool. What's this all about? How come you didn't do it this way? And we'd all elaborate and share. And I think that was really, really healthy for me, even though I wasn't paying for room and board over there throughout my 4 years. Like, I met these friends and I was like, hey, listen, I got a deal for you guys. I'm always hustling. I got a deal for you guys, man. All you guys are from out of state. I'm still working. I was working as a busboy for an Italian restaurant up in the Bronx. And I was like commuting in for 2.5 hours every day because of traffic. Yeah. And I was getting tired. I was like, man, there's no way I'm going to be able to, succeed here on this thing. And I got to find a way to live there, nor does my family have enough money for me to actually, get a room and board and do the whole
it'd be
dorm
expensive.
thing.
Yeah, I'd imagine.
Yeah, plus art supplies are just, they're always expensive.
Yeah.
So I told him, I was like, listen, how about this? I know that your parents are giving you guys weekend stipends or monthly stipends for food and gear. How about this? Don't tell them anything, but how about you let me crash up on the floor, right, of your dorm room? Because, there were like 4 in this apartment-sized dorm room. It wasn't just like, here's a broom closet. I mean, this thing was like an apartment, with like a balcony, Yeah, it was in Brooklyn. It was like one of these big 18-story type of project buildings taken by, So I was like, listen, I'll sleep in the kitchen. I'll use the kitchen as the dining area, which was like a small nook, as like my studio. I won't bother you guys, unless you guys want to be bothered. But every week, I'll leave a Post-it note or a sheet of paper on the fridge. You guys write down anything and everything you want. A case of beer, pork chops, lamb chops, chicken, pot. I'll bring it all when I'm done with my shift as a waiter, as long as I can stay here. Oh man, for 4 years I slept on the floor, man.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
And got all my work done, but it was a good trade-off. So, it was a whole different world back then because there was no computers as well. The internet didn't exist. It was 1990, 94. And I remember graduating and just being like totally like ready for action. And then the studios are like, no, do you know Quark, Photoshop, and Illustrator? I'm like, what the hell are those things, man? I just spent like an insane amount of money on my diploma, man. And like, what do you mean? I don't get access to the roads that are paved in gold in America? What's going on here? It took some time. I ended up working. If you're wanting to succeed at anything, don't give up. You'll definitely reach that pivotal moment that the clouds will open, the sun will shine down on you, and you're going to feel that warmth of appreciation and support. And from there, your task is not to get big-headed and go, oh, no, I'm going to totally, defecate on the rest of the support of the world because I'm the thing now. I'm big. I had that experience when I did my first group show at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, right? And I was like 2 years out of Pratt, and I was just like, oh my God, after all the history books and artists, autobiographies that I've read and bios, oh my God, I'm actually there now. I'm big. All my friends
down
like,
to earth. Yeah.
Yeah, when I crashed down to earth, I mean, actually, I never left Earth. You know what I mean? I was still there selling pens, big pens, and pencils. But I think that was a great experience for me to understand, the originality of humble pie and getting a big bite out of it, and then going, okay, cool, apologizing to all my friends about, hey, I don't care about you, man. I'm big now. I'm going to be like living over in Beverly Hills, and since then, it's never ever dawned on me to ever brandish an ego or anything like that. I always, try to tell folks, you could be proud of your work. Yeah. You could be significantly happy of reaching the end of a particular goal, which only opens up another door to another road of exploratory and investment.
Yep.
But when you start pushing your egos around, be careful because,
it becomes
you can't retract.
It
you
becomes
can't
very
retract
toxic.
Some of these words, It
becomes very toxic very quickly, and you'll find that nobody wants to collaborate and work with you either. And then you stop learning from other people. You stop becoming open to other voices, other cultures, and you just kind of be this kind of like brick wall that nobody can get past or collaborate with. And it's not a good pitfall to really fall into. And so it's good to try and keep open about as much as possible, like always learn, always be humble, and keep people around you that will ensure that you are humble and will will smack you down occasionally to say, look, you're being a dick here. You need to kind of just knock it down a little bit.
No, seriously, man. I'm not one for praise either. I kind of cringe a little bit, when everybody's like, sending me DMs and, vector this and vector that and how cool that, and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, hey, thank you. That's cool. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. It's rough. It's really wild, not to say that I don't stand my ground when I need to stand my ground. I mean, there's opportunities that need for you to stand your grounds. Like I mentioned before, when you're being a vital part of a collaboration, you just don't want to be like a yes person and be like, yeah. And then, because of your experience, you're able to see, 20 yards down the road and go, oh man, we're going to hit a brick wall if we go this direction. I should say something. And you just keep shut because you just don't want to, cause any ripples. No, you're being asked to participate because there's a particular purse that's been invested in this collaboration, this grouping of minds and talent that, a big brand is like, hey, we want to get a return on investment on this. So you definitely need to voice out and speak. Not, you don't need to be totalitarianish and be like, oh no, this is my opinion. No, you don't need to be like that, but everything's about communication. Seriously. Yeah. I used to be very quiet. I think I started speaking really, really late in life. I think my mom told me that I was like, she signed me up for kindergarten at 5, I think, or at 6. And she was like, man, I hope he starts talking sometime soon. I know he's paying attention, And she was like, oh man, they're going to send him back and put like special ed written on his forehead, And I think it was like a month before I actually started classes and I was like, blah, 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 blah.
Wonderful kind of like eureka moment, right? No, we can't shut him up. Oh my goodness.
We can't shut him up. Jesus. He's letting out all these secrets. Good Lord, he's worse than Tobey Maguire at a Marvel Press show, man. Good Lord.
Oh, wonderful. So we've been talking now for over an hour and we haven't really shown off any of your work that we have actually been talking about. Man. So would it be okay if I screen share over?
Dude, yeah, man. Anything and everything you want to talk about. I mean,
oh man, your work is so freaking phenomenal, dude, that I just want to pour over. We won't go through everything because it is extensive and it is hugely, hugely impressive. But this is, of course, for the benefit of our viewers, this is Orlando's Behance profile. And for anybody who doesn't know what Behance is, it's an online sharing platform, I guess you could say, that is really for creatives. It could be artists, filmmakers, writers, absolutely anything, designers. I certainly share some design work, some case studies, some portfolio stuff as well. And it's just a great way to do some research as well as trying connecting and collaborating with other creatives. So thankfully, the wonderful Orlando has an extensive portfolio that we can scroll through and look at. Now, the one that really caught my eye was the Snake Plissken DVD cover of Escape. I think it's in German actually, but it is Escape from New York, the John Carpenter classic from was it late 70s or early 80s that this one was? I'm trying to remember when it actually came out, but this vector artwork, my friend, is stunning, absolutely stunning. And I love to see collector's editions of re-released classic movies getting not just a bog standard like photograph on a DVD sleeve or something, but they've got a couple in your portfolio that are truly stunning. You've got the cobra wrapping around the Statue of Liberty. But this blew my mind. This seriously blew my mind as this study, because this is actually the vector wireframes.
Yeah.
And I can't even begin to fathom how you even begin to build something like this. Over to you. That's a lot of Johnny Walker Blue late at night, and hey man, Illustrator is, like I've always said, man, it's an ongoing. It's one of my favorite video games. If you want to have people understand your artwork, I look those stories of like, yeah, this guy was a great artist, but he never got to get any type of, accolade or thank yous for while he was alive. But anyway,
the wireframing is something that I found very unique in Illustrator that Photoshop didn't have. And when I first hit that Command Y and I saw just the outlines, I was like, oh, I got to share this, folks, man. This is intense.
Yeah.
And since then, from the start to finish type of initiative of it, what went into it. Sometimes I'll show more as far as whether I've done a story, but Behance is something that I've always, really, really appreciated the community. When I've really, really logged on before Adobe bought into it, believe it or not. And it made me go to the extremes of going, I don't need a website. I'll just post everything on Behance, because Behance, the benefit with Behance is the community and the professional associations and organizations that are tied into it. So they get, Behance as a whole gets a lot more traffic daily than my website would have on a single day.
Yeah.
So that was part of the strategy behind, okay, you know what? I'm just going to kill my website. I'm just going to post everything up on Behance, and I'll become part of the community and help support and praise everything and send all the headhunters and talent, coordinators that way and business that way and let them see for themselves what's going on. And I think up until last year, I stopped. I was like, you know what? Let me do another test. Let me see what happens if I don't post on Behance. And I just keep on posting on social. Right. What was interesting was that, I started losing fans on the social side.
Oh,
right.
Okay.
Yeah, honestly, really weird. I started losing fans on the social side, even though I was putting all the nooks and crannies into it, all this hard work. And then the Behance was just staying static.
Right.
Right. But the social shot up so high that I was getting all these new clienteles because of LinkedIn.
Oh.
So I was like, okay, great. That's a weird kind of, case study to follow. And it's wild. Like you were just showing my Behance page and I was like, hey man, there was that latest Conjuring poster thing up there. It's because I just got a notice from Adobe going, from Behance going, hey, I think it's NC, subject matter because there's blood involved and it's a little bit of gore and violence. And I'm like, what gore and violence are you talking about? I just have a hand with blood on there, man. It's like, you don't have to be that critical. Whatever. I'll talk to them at the next Adobe Max. I'm like, hey, where's that Behance guy over here? Come over here. I'll get all Bronx on him.
Wonderful. So the plan was to show a bit more, but when I was screen sharing your portfolio, my computer had a major fit, so I don't want to lose the broadcast or anything like that. So I've just killed it. I've killed the screen share. So because it was just dropping out entirely. So
no, it's all right because my headphones just dropped out on you right now, and I was like, oh no, stage door left.
So the big takeaway here. The big takeaway, viewers and listeners, is that Orlando's work is so freaking hot that it will destroy my computer whenever I try to show it. That is it. It's like white hot.
Oh man, we need to get you. We need to get you on a HP, man. On a PC base.
What?
Good Lord!
Don't you dare! Mac forever.
No way, man. You see, I used to be that way, and then I jumped onto HP. And my vectors don't beach ball anymore. But that's a good thing.
That's the marketing tagline right there. If you're a designer, you won't ever see a beach ball unless you're at the beach, which we can't really do at the moment anyway. So
there you go. I have plenty of friends that still play with the fruity brand, And hey man, I had no criticism. It's not for me anymore. I just wanted a bigger challenge. I wanted to at least get into the fundamentals of really setting up my rig the way that I really, really, really wanted it to. Yeah. I didn't want to have all these governors in place that prevented me to go so far. So hey, I have to speak about it, man. I'm in love with the damn brand. It's So, we're running out of time, but I can't even tell you how I'm playing around with this thing these days.
Is that a Vive or an Oculus?
It's an HP
Oh,
Reverb
so it's an
G2.
HP one. Okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
you demonstrated one of these, didn't you, on your show? I think at one point you did demonstrate at least a headset at one point
Yeah, I think
throughout your
so.
show,
I
right?
think so. Yeah, I would love to get myself like one of the Oculus Quest because it's no wires or anything. It's just fully
Oh yeah,
wireless. I think God, see that convenience.
but
Once we can,
you could also link it in if you needed some more
yeah, yeah, you can.
power.
But once we
Yeah,
get to a phase where you have the incredible fidelity of being hardwired to your computer, but it's fully wireless, and you just put it on, and then like you are into the VR space. That level of convenience, I think, is when there'll be more people ready to adopt. Because at the moment, it requires like a very powerful computer, and you either have to be tethered to it, or you get the downgraded experience, which is the wireless experience from the Quest. But you don't get like the full VR games. You get these kind of like experience tech demo things, which are great, but we'll get there eventually.
Ross, I never knew that you were so geeked out on VR, man.
Oh,
look at you go, man. You're on fire, bro. You're on fire. You're going Mach 3 right now. I'm barely catching up, man. No, you know what? My wife and I love it. Yes, I'm trying to learn on my downtime between this monstrosity that I have stacking up behind me, and trying to find time to explore the next level, my next endeavor of creativity, digital side. I would love to try to bring my wireforms into this VR space.
Oh my God.
Right? My
Can you imagine? Oh my God.
Yeah. And I've tried teaming up with a few of my 3D friends and animators, I was talking to Boss Logic about it. I was like, oh, dude, we got to do something about this and that.
Orlando, I'm going to tell you something that's going to blow your mind, right? So a few years ago, myself and some friends were at a conference, like a video game conference, which is the biggest in the UK, called the Eurogamer Expo. It's kind of like E3, but on a much smaller scale. And at the time, the big VR headsets hadn't really been released yet. Like the HTC Vive, the PlayStation VR and Oculus were all there. And myself and my friend managed to book a slot for the HTC Vive. And they had the full setup. So it was a big room that you got taken into, like a pop-up tent kind of thing. But they in each corner of the room, they had these sensors which beam out like a grid, like a scanning grid, infrared scanning grid in each corner. So it maps your room. And then the headset is on like a dolly rail that you're walking around freely all over this room. It's like tethered to this thing. But because of the 4 scanners that are in each corner of your room, you are fully surrounded in VR. You're not like sitting down, you can fully walk around. And there was this art program that was as part of the tech demo. So I jumped in and got to try this. And
of course
it was
you did. You're like, I'm jumping in.
Yeah, like what? Why not? Let's try and break this thing. So I jumped in and it was literally like you're using your hand as paintbrushes kind of thing. And you're just like doing these waving gestures, and then the paint is like this light that's dancing across the screen, and it's all moving, but it's in a 3-dimensional space, so you can like duck under the paint swipe and then rotate it and manipulate it. And I thought, fucking hell, this is incredible. This is the future. Just messing around with this stuff. But again,
let me tell you something, man. If this existed back in the 90s when I was over at Pratt Institute, oh man, it would be dangerous. It would be dangerous. I was a whole different person back then, and the whole exploratory phase of things back in your college days. I would never leave VR. I'd be like, I'd be like, hula dancing and doing the lumba under these swatches of colors in VR. You know what I mean? I know exactly what you're talking about. These setups. I think I came across something very, very similar to it here in Colombia. They're really big on VR. Well, before the whole COVID thing, they have like these VR, not cafes, but these VR kind of like storefronts that you walk into, and you're able to pick through a menu list of like what games to play, and they'll charge you per 15 minutes. So my wife and I go in there and we'll play like the latest zombie game, and it's like this. I mean, it's you have your own wall, and it's set up and with those lasers or those cameras to set up the grid for your facility and then the tether. And we just go to town. We just go, co-op and we're like, yeah, bro. We're like, all right, cool. But that's nowhere at all. Like we haven't played VR that much here in my studio because of this cardboard, monolith that's being built behind me. But when we do, it's funny. It's really funny because we'll play here in my studio and I'll set up like, I have all these like, these
the bendy arms and clamps.
These bendy arms for like, for like telephone conferencing. I'll set them up in front of my monitor, so that she doesn't reach out and bang a fist through my monitor, and I'm also like chaperoning her. I'm spotting her off to the side. I feel like, I'm spotting Arnold Schwarzenegger at the gym. I'm like, okay, a little bit to the left. I'll physically like reposition her and go, stay there. And man, one time she gave me a wallop. I turned around to look at my second monitor, I was like doing something. And all of a sudden, as soon as I looked over, she bam! Came down with a handful of like, the headset and the, I don't know what they're called. They're not gloves. They're called, what are they called? These things, man.
Those are like the
controllers or whatever.
Controllers. Yeah.
Oh man, she just came down. And I had a wilt on the side of my face, and I was just like, "Oh man, that sucks." I was like, "That's it. We're going to the living room. We're gonna go play with the PlayStation VR, man." And she's like, "I don't like that one." But
they're crazy, man. They're crazy.
Oh, I love it. I mean, I'm hoping. Right now I'm talking to a few people, a few movie properties, a few horror directors. Upon maybe the next endeavor extension would be something very interesting within the VR world.
Wow. That sounds amazing.
And it's really wild because if you look on Steam or wherever you might congregate to download some of your games for VR, there's many. It's just that some of them aren't that long. I think the best one that I've played, there's a few, Half-Life Alyx.
Yeah. I've heard so many good things about that, and I wish I could play it, but maybe I need to sell my Mac and get a PC just for Half-Life Alyx.
Oh my God. I'll see if I can help you out with that. But, first I want proof that you got rid of that fruity thing, man. But anyway, let me stop. I've got a bunch of people out there probably are going to be like, yeah, they're sharpening up their stakes. They're like, they're going to take care of you next year. Don't worry about it. Half-Life Alyx not only do they bring everything to the table as far as graphics and the storyline, but whoa, the storyline. And we're not talking about like your typical VR game that is like, maybe 5 to 3 levels deep, and then that's it. We ran out of budget. That's all we could do for the VR. Thank you so much.
Oh, yeah.
This thing is like a bona fide, 20 plus gamer, hour gamer type of thing.
Yeah.
The other one that was pretty, if you're into shoot 'em ups, The Walking Dead, Saint and Sinners was another one that we really had a lot of fun playing around. Like really big on the first person shooter type of thing,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I know Beat Saber is a hugely popular one. Yeah. More for just like getting a workout at home as well. Like put that thing on hard and you are like flailing like crazy.
Oh no! I almost did like a. Oh my God! I almost did like a James Brown drop to my knees kind of call for help, heart attack type of thing when my wife was like, "Hey, I just downloaded Creed, the Rocky line of VR stuff."
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, man! Listen, man, I've always tried to stay in shape. I'm a big judo fanatic, karate fanatic, whatever. Back in my prime years. Now that I'm in like my 40s or going into my 50s. I don't do as much as that of that.
Sure. Yeah.
But this game, oh my God, man! I literally took it off and I sat down. I was like, no, take it away from me. Don't even come near me with that, man. Take it away. So congratulations to the developing crew that put that game together because. It totally outbeats the Nintendo Wii, like, tennis and like golf.
With the Wii box.
This thing must have been set up by a creative director that must have been an ex-Navy SEAL and said, the hell with it. We're going to make him really work out and sweat.
Dude, you just need a towel guy in your corner to wipe your brow and pat you down, get the Vaseline on, and send you back in. You'll be fine.
Are you kidding me? Oh my God. I was almost like demasculated in front of my wife. I was like, I can't do it. I can't keep up with that. And she's like, but I thought you liked boxing. What's wrong? I was like, no.
Yeah.
Water. Give me some fresh air. Open up the windows. I'm dying here.
It was only one round, seriously, Orlando. It was only the first round.
It wasn't even 30 seconds, man. I was there with like the heart rate monitor. I was like, oh man, I'm gonna have a relapse. Time out. Hold on. I can't go on.
Oh man, brilliant stuff. Oh buddy, this has been an absolute blast. We'll probably need to wrap it up here, but it's been an absolute pleasure to talk with you for the past 80-ish minutes.
Oh wow, Jesus!
Yeah, there's lots more that I would love to chat to you about.
I got to stop talking about my stories, man. Jeez, I'm sorry.
they're the best. No, don't worry about it. We're not paying for airtime here, so we could actually keep on going. But anyway, for the benefit of our listeners, I will wrap it up there. But I want to have you back for more shows and more chats and just good old banter, because it's been such a pleasure, buddy. A really pleasure.
Hey, I appreciate it. I appreciate it so much, Russ. You're awesome to chat with, and I think that we have so much in common that you could totally like pick another theme for us to totally geek out on and be like, okay, Orlando, we're going to talk nothing but collectible action figures, whatever it might be.
Gotta have lots of those.
Lord knows I'm trying to decipher the blur behind your shoulder. I'm like, what does he really have there, man? What is that?
I'll tweet you a picture later after we finish. You can dissect and pour over.
Yeah, no, hey man, I welcome any future invitation, Ross. Seriously.
Thank you, buddy. Thank you very much. So, ladies and gents, if you have enjoyed today's podcast, then of course, thank you very much for sticking with us for the past 80-ish, 90-ish minutes. But don't forget to like and follow and share the channel so we can grow it and continue to get more amazing guests on the show, such as Orlando. But for now, guys, take care. Have a great rest of your week, and I'll be back next week with another amazing guest. So that's it. Take care. Bye-bye.